Bethel Metropolitan Baptist Fellowship Church with Southwest Louisiana Community School Advocacy Council, and we were excited and grateful and appreciative to have our State Superintendent, Mr. Paul Pastorek, here tonight with just a state forecast on education, and delighted to have him just giving us an overview of what took place. Of course, we have a race to the top issue at play, and again, saddened on the initial because of it being the first round that we didn't get it, but maybe you might what our hopes later on, when is the next batch to be given out, and we hope to be in that next round.
Well, we did not win in the first round, but it's like a football game, and we just finished the first half. Yes. The Saints were behind in the first half of the Super Bowl. They went in at halftime, regrouped, and came out to win the ball game. So we think we're going to put forth a plan. We have to refile it June 1, and we'll hope to hear in September that we win in the second round. There's actually a lot more money left, and so we're very hopeful about it.
Well, and I'm glad we make note of that, because there may be a perception here in Calcasieu Parish, since Calcasieu was not one of those districts that got on board with Race to the Top. There may be those who are thinking, we're out of it completely, and that might be the perception, but I'm glad to hear that hopefully that in the next batch that Louisiana, with a great consideration. I wish with many of the organizations across the state that did participate, of course the charter schools that got on board, as again, I wish we had East Baton Rouge Parish that got on board.
Yep.
Lafayette, they got on board. I just wish that Calcasieu had gotten on board. But
well, maybe there'll be another shot. And, we're looking right now at whether we're going to open it up to the remaining districts. About 50% of kids are represented in this first round effort. And we're trying to decide whether we're going to open it up again and let the remaining districts participate. We would certainly, if Lake Charles is interested and Calcasieu Parish wants to be a part of that, we'd certainly be open to that prospect.
Well, what's interesting, I've said it, that, the thrust really is, whether it's race to the top or not, that, if it's not race to the top, it's perhaps race, if it's race around the corner or race around the block, it's coming. I mean, the changes that we saw and we see in Race to the Top really is state mandated. You see I think you might want to expound upon what the governor has in plan, with tightening the rein, teacher evaluation, and all of that, and so maybe you might want to expound on that.
Yeah, well, the idea here is that the federal government gives about 10% of the total monies that are spent in local school district. So Title I monies, special education monies, it usually represent about 10% of the total dollars that a district spends. The federal government is going to require performance with that money. It's never required performance up to this point, and it is going to require performance. And some of the changes that we're talking about in Race to the Top are the very things that are going to happen anyway. Now, that's at the federal level. At the state level, the governor has announced some pieces of legislation that will be acted on in this session. One of those pieces of legislation will be around teacher evaluations for the purpose of improving teachers, for the purposes of making them more successful and helping them understand where they can improve. And this is also an element that's coming whether we get in Race to the Top or not, whether we win Race to the Top or not. So, we're going to have to change the way we do business, and I don't think it's a bad thing. It's actually working. Some of these very same strategies are already in place in other schools and working very effectively.
I saw where East Baton Rouge Parish had a pilot program. I think they got something like $1 million or something like that, implementing a pilot program.
That's right.
What about the big issue? I guess 2009, certainly 2010, Career Pathway Diploma. And Bessie had a wrangling with that. So how do you feel about it?
Well, the issue there was not that we want to see kids denied an opportunity at a career. We want kids to have an opportunity at a career, and we should begin to expose them to good career opportunities while they're in high school. That was never in disagreement, and the board was never in disagreement with that. The challenge was we were considering two things that were a problem. One is reducing the rigor for kids. If we lower our expectations for kids, they'll certainly meet those low expectations. If we keep them high, they'll meet high expectations. That was one of the issues. And the second issue was if kids are going to fail the leap and go on to a career diploma, what kind of support are schools going to be required to give kids? Because if kids can't master basic mathematics in the 8th grade, how are they going to go on to the 9th grade and 10th grade and 11th grade? So we did two things after the bill was passed. We created a support for kids, a real positive support. Districts now have to give very strong support to get kids back up to speed. And the second thing is we created a real career option for kids. The legislation had the outline of it, but we really put the piece in place. And here's the good news. The governor, even in this time where budgets are being cut, the governor is increasing the investment for career options for kids while they're in high school. He's increasing it from $3 million to $12 million. So this is going to help kids get a real option in careers.
Turn around low-performing schools. Of course, Race to the Top would have been a tremendous asset, and hoping, with the links there, and chartered schools. Let's talk maybe about low-performing schools in our state. Chronic. Those schools, we have several here. So what is the intent? What is the will of the state